Ever seen those moments when a mature woman walks into a room and suddenly every man can't help but look? It's like she has this invisible force field of attraction, and no, I'm not talking about the whole cougar thing you see in movies. There's something way deeper going on here, something that most people completely miss. What if I told you there are exactly 7 things that make men absolutely fascinated by older women? Things that go way beyond the obvious. Today, I'm going to blow your mind with secrets that even most men don't realize about their own attraction patterns. And trust me, some of these are going to surprise you. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let me show you what really catches a man's eye when he spots an attractive older woman in. Let's start with something that might seem obvious at first, but trust me, it's not what you think. The first thing men notice about an attractive older woman is what I call her earned confidence. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and you just know who you are. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But here's where it gets interesting. Studies have shown that men can actually detect the difference between fake confidence and what I call lived-in confidence, the kind that only comes from years of experience. It's like the difference between costume jewelry and a vintage diamond. They both might sparkle, but one has a depth that can't be imitated. Think about someone like Helen Mirren or Angela Bassett. When these women enter a room, they don't need to announce themselves. Their presence does all the talking. And it's not just about looking good, it's about owning every line, every gray hair, every experience that made them who they are. Here's what's fascinating. Researchers at Stanford University found that men's pupils dilate 23% more when they see a woman displaying this type of authentic confidence compared to someone trying to appear confident. It's like their bodies instinctively know the difference between real and fake. But here's the real kicker. This kind of confidence isn't about being loud or demanding attention. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's that quiet certainty that comes from knowing exactly who you are and being completely comfortable with it. It's in the way you sip your coffee without rushing, how you take your time answering questions, how you're not afraid of silences in conversation. And the best part, this isn't something you need to practice in front of a mirror. It's already inside you, built from every challenge you've overcome, every lesson you've learned, every time you've picked yourself up and kept going. Men aren't just attracted to this confidence. They're fascinated by it because they can sense the story behind it. Let me share something really interesting about how this plays out in real life. Now, let's talk about something that men probably won't admit out loud, but absolutely drives them wild: emotional intelligence. And no, I'm not talking about just being a good listener or knowing how to handle a crisis. I'm talking about that almost magical ability that mature women have to read between the lines. Here's something mind-blowing. Scientists at Harvard found that men are subconsciously drawn to women who can navigate emotional landscapes effortlessly. Think about it. How many times have you been in a situation where you just knew exactly what someone needed even before they said anything? That's not just intuition. That's years of emotional experience at work. You see, younger women might try to solve problems or offer quick fixes, but a woman with emotional intelligence, she knows when to just pour a glass of wine and say, "Tell me more about that." She understands the power of creating space for emotions without trying to fix everything. And let me tell you, men find this absolutely magnetic. But here's what's really fascinating. It's not just about understanding others, it's about how you handle your own emotions too. Imagine someone who doesn't fly off the handle at small problems, who doesn't play emotional games, who knows exactly who she is and what she wants. That kind of emotional stability. It's like a beacon of peace in a world of chaos. There's this incredible moment in high-level business negotiations. They call it the power pause. It's when someone takes a moment to think before responding, showing they're in complete control of their emotional reactions. Mature women, they've mastered this art in everyday life. And men, they can't help but be drawn to this kind of emotional mastery. And the really interesting part, this isn't something you can fake. It's like a fine wine. It only gets better with time. Let's get real about something that might surprise you. When men are attracted to older women, they're not looking for perfection. They're captivated by something I call the graceful presence. And this is where things get really interesting. Did you know that studies from the University of Texas found that men are more attracted to how a woman carries herself than to conventional beauty standards? It's true. Think about Monica Bellucci or Jane Fonda. These women aren't trying to compete with 20-year-olds. Instead, they've mastered something far more powerful, the art of moving through life with intention. Here's what's fascinating. It's in the little things. The way she takes her time walking across a room, how she gestures while telling a story, the subtle way she tilts her head when listening. These aren't rehearsed movements, they're the natural flow of a woman who's comfortable in her own skin. But here's the real secret that most people miss. This kind of presence actually triggers what psychologists call the status recognition response in men's brains. In simpler terms, men literally can't help but notice a woman who moves with this kind of grace. It's hardwired into their DNA. And the best part, this isn't about being model thin or having perfect skin, it's about that confident swagger that comes from knowing exactly who you are. You know that feeling when you're wearing your favorite outfit, the one that just feels right? That's the energy we're talking about, but it comes from within. What makes this even more powerful is... Now, here's something truly powerful that makes men absolutely fascinated. What I call the wisdom factor. You know that sparkle in the eye that only comes from really living life? That's exactly what we're talking about here. Research from the University of Michigan suggests that men are naturally drawn to women who can teach them something new about life. But it's not about being a know-it-all. It's about having stories that matter. Think about those moments when you can say, "I've been there," and actually mean it. That kind of authentic life experience, it's like catnip for men's brains. Here's what's really mind-blowing. When men interact with a woman who has this kind of deep life wisdom, their brains actually release more dopamine, the same chemical that fires up when they achieve something significant. It's like they instinctively recognize the value of your journey. You see, younger women might have book smarts, but there's something absolutely magnetic about a woman who can share real-life insights with a knowing smile. Whether it's navigating career challenges, understanding relationship dynamics, or just knowing how to handle life's curveballs, this kind of wisdom is impossible to fake. And let me tell you something fascinating about this. Speaking of real-world experience, let's talk about something that secretly drives men wild: a woman's financial sovereignty. Now, I'm not talking about being rich. I'm talking about something way more attractive: financial independence. Here's the thing that psychology studies have revealed. Men are incredibly attracted to women who don't need them financially. It triggers what experts call the equal partner response. When a man meets a woman who's got her financial act together, it creates this perfect storm of attraction. Think about it like this. When you can order the expensive wine without checking the price, when you can talk about investments with confidence, when you've built your own empire, big or small, it shows you're not looking for a provider, you're looking for a partner. But here's what makes this truly powerful. It's not about flaunting wealth. It's about that quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've got yourself covered. Studies show that men find this kind of financial self-reliance more attractive than traditional symbols of wealth like designer bags or expensive jewelry. And you know what's really interesting about this? Men report feeling more masculine, not less, when they're with a financially independent woman. It's like your success amplifies their confidence instead of threatening it. Let's talk about something that makes men absolutely weak in the knees: a mature woman's communication style. And trust me, this goes way deeper than just knowing how to hold a conversation. What I'm about to share with you might completely change how you think about the power of your words. Imagine walking into a room and being able to say more with a single glance than most people can say in an entire conversation. That's the kind of communicative power we're talking about here. Research from Columbia University's psychology department found something fascinating. Men's stress hormones actually decrease when they're talking with a woman who masters what they call authentic communication patterns. But here's where it gets really interesting. You see, younger women often communicate to get something: attention, validation, or approval. But a mature woman, she communicates to share something. And that difference, it's like comparing a match to a bonfire. Both create light, but one has lasting power that draws people in and keeps them there. Let me break this down with a real-world example. Think about the last time you were at a dinner party. While younger women might be busy trying to impress everyone with their stories, a mature woman knows how to turn a simple question like, "What do you do?" into an invitation for genuine connection. It's not about the words, it's about the intention behind them. Here's what's really fascinating. Scientists have discovered that men's brains actually process the voice of a mature woman differently. They found that the lower, more controlled vocal patterns common in older women activate the same areas of the male brain associated with complex problem solving and deep listening. It's like your voice literally commands their full attention, but it goes even deeper than that. A mature woman's communication style has what psychologists call layered meaning, while younger women might say exactly what they're thinking. A mature woman knows how to convey multiple messages at once: confidence, interest, boundaries, and invitation, all in a single conversation. It's like speaking in emotional surround sound. And here's the real game changer. This kind of communication isn't about being clever or witty. It's about being real. When you've lived enough life, you develop this incredible ability to cut through the noise and get to what matters. Men find this absolutely irresistible because it's so rare in today's world of surface-level interactions and social media soundbites. Think about someone like Meryl Streep in any interview. Notice how she never rushes to fill silences, how she thinks before she speaks, how she can disagree without being disagreeable. That's the kind of communication mastery that comes with age and experience. And let me tell you, men aren't just listening to what you're saying, they're absorbing how you're saying it. But here's what most people don't realize about this kind of magnetic communication. The seventh thing that men find irresistible about older women is something I like to call the standards effect. And before you think this is just about having high standards, hold on. Because what I'm about to share will completely transform how you think about your boundaries and values. Let me paint you a picture that'll make this crystal clear. You know that feeling when you walk away from something that doesn't serve you, even if it looks good on paper? That quiet, unshakable sense of knowing your worth? That's exactly what drives men absolutely wild about mature women. And here's why this is so powerful. Recent psychology studies from Duke University revealed something fascinating. Men's attraction levels spike by up to 42% when they encounter a woman with clear, unshakable standards. But here's the really interesting part. It's not about being difficult or demanding. It's about something much deeper that happens in a man's brain when he meets a woman who knows her value. Think about it like this. Imagine you're at an auction. Which painting gets the highest bids? It's always the one that comes with a solid provenance, a clear history of its value. Your personal standards, they're like your emotional provenance. They tell the world, and especially men, that you know exactly what you're worth. But let me share something that'll really blow your mind. Researchers found that when men interact with women who have strong personal standards, their brains release a unique combination of chemicals. It's the same cocktail that gets released when they're pursuing something they perceive as highly valuable. In other words, your standards literally make their brains categorize you as a high-value partner. Here's where most people get it wrong, though. Having standards isn't about creating a long list of demands or playing hard to get. It's about something much more powerful, what psychologists call authentic boundary maintenance. Imagine having an invisible force field that naturally filters out anything that doesn't align with your values. That's what we're talking about here. Let me give you a real-world example. When a mature woman says, "I don't do drama," it's not just words, it's a standard she lives by. And men, they can feel the truth of it in how she carries herself, how she handles conflicts, how she chooses her relationships. It's like watching a masterclass in personal dignity. The really fascinating part, this quality actually triggers what scientists call the pursuit drive in men's brains. When they meet a woman with genuine standards, not artificial barriers, but real, lived-in values, it activates the same part of their brain that drives them to achieve great things. It's like your standards become a challenge they want to rise to meet. And here's the beautiful irony in all this. The moment you truly embrace your standards, you stop worrying about whether men will find them attractive. And that's exactly when they become most attractive to the right kind of man.